It forces you to confront the parts of yourself you've spent your whole life avoiding, the weak parts, the insecure parts, the wounded parts. It demands that you stop blaming women for not seeing you and start asking why you haven't truly seen yourself. Because here's what Dr. Thorne understood, something most men never grasp. You don't become a man by being chosen. You become a man by choosing yourself. You don't earn your value by being adored. You earn it by standing alone, awake, aware, and responsible for your own life. A man who's faced his own unconscious, he can't be seduced by projection anymore. He stops being a puppet in someone else's fantasy. He becomes the author of his own story. Thorne once said the biggest tragedy among modern men isn't that they get rejected, it's that they're willing to shape themselves into anything just to be accepted. You call it compromise, you call it partnership, you call it love. But Thorne had another word for it: self-betrayal. He warned that men who ignore their inner development become slaves to the feminine projection, bending like soft clay into whatever mold a woman demands, even when she doesn't know what she truly wants. And when you live like that, you stop being a man. You become a mask, smiling, nodding, performing, until one day you forget who you were before you put that mask on. And women, they can feel this. Oh, they sense it more than you know. The very things you think will make her love you, being nice, being predictable, being always available, those are the exact reasons she loses attraction. Why? Because, as Thorne taught, the feminine instinct isn't drawn to comfort, it's drawn to mystery, to depth, to the man she can't fully predict or control. The moment you make yourself completely available, without boundaries, without backbone, you don't become more lovable. You become invisible, replaceable, and that's the paradox that keeps so many men trapped. You fear being alone more than you fear being fake. You'd rather lose yourself than lose her. You'd rather live a lie, a performance, than face the silence of standing alone. But Thorne made it clear, until a man embraces that silence, that solitude, he will never be free. He said that individuation is a death before death. You have to let the false self die. You have to burn away the illusions, the masks, the performances, so something real can finally emerge. But nobody talks about how lonely that path is, brutally lonely, because once you start to wake up, you start to see things you can't unsee. You see the games, the masks, the lies people tell themselves just to feel okay. And when you try to speak that truth, they mock you. They say you're cold, arrogant, too serious. They tell you you're the problem, but you're not. You're just the mirror. And people hate the mirror when it shows them something they don't want to face. Dr. Elias Thorne knew this well. He spent years sitting across their own reflection, terrified of the parts of themselves they buried so deep they forgot they existed. He called it the shadow, the rejected, unloved, unacknowledged parts of your psyche. And most people, they'll do anything to avoid meeting that shadow, especially women who've grown up in cultures that reward emotional storytelling over emotional self-awareness. Society tells them they're pure, intuitive, already complete. But Thorne wasn't buying it. He warned that the greatest danger to women wasn't outside of them. It was inside. It was their unconscious animus, that inner voice pretending to be wise, pretending to be righteous, pretending to be truth. But really, it's just a projection machine, playing an old film reel onto every man they meet. And when they don't face it, when they don't wrestle with that inner tyrant, they become prisoners of it. And what do prisoners do? They lash out, they blame, they project. So here you are, thinking you're her savior, thinking you're different, thinking if you just love her enough, prove yourself loud enough, show up strong enough, she'll finally see you. But that's not how projection works. Projection doesn't want the truth, it wants the illusion. And the moment you stop feeding the illusion, the moment you start being real, it turns on you. Thorne taught that projection is a thief. It steals what's real and replaces it with fantasy. And unless both men and women wake up from that fantasy, the same heartbreak plays out again and again, each blaming the other, each one blind to their own role in the cycle. And here's the cruelest twist of all. The woman who once saw you as her hero will one day see you as her enemy, not because you changed, but because you failed to stay in character. You didn't betray her, you didn't lie to her. You just failed to be the myth she cast you to play, the silent expectations she never voiced out loud, but punished you for not fulfilling. That's what projection does. It builds a dream in someone's head and punishes reality for breaking it. Thorne once wrote, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul." And nowhere is that truer than in romantic relationships. Because most of what we call love, it's not love, it's possession. Two people, both incomplete, both afraid, dragging their unresolved childhood wounds into something they hope will feel like home. But how can it? How can it ever feel like home when you don't even know who you are? You want to blame her. You want to call her manipulative, emotional, irrational. You want to make her the villain of the story. But Thorne would look you straight in the eye and ask, why did you choose her? And if you're honest, you chose her because it was easier to be a character in her fantasy than to face your own emptiness. You volunteered for the role. You knew somewhere deep down that it wasn't real, but you went along with it anyway, because pretending felt safer than standing alone. People want to feel real for was aware of Smike, yet not a victim. You're a participant. You didn't get tricked, you made a trade. You traded truth for attention. And here's where most men stop listening. Because this is where comfort ends and responsibility begins. Dr. Thorne didn't hand out easy answers. He didn't give you 5 quick tips to become the alpha. He gave you the brutal, lifelong challenge of facing yourself, of sitting in silence, alone, long enough for the masks to start cracking, long enough for the voice in your head, the one that says, "You're nothing without her," to start dying. And trust me, that voice won't go quietly. It'll fight, it'll beg, it'll scream. It'll tell you that you need her, that you're incomplete without her, that no man can survive without feminine validation. But Dr. Thorne's work whispers something far more dangerous, that the man who can stand without her is the man who's finally free. Free from fantasy, free from performance, free from bending to someone else's dream just to feel like a man. And when you reach that place, something shifts. You don't become cold, you don't become heartless, you become real, you become grounded, present, rooted in your own truth. And ironically, that's when women start noticing you the most. Not because you need them, but because you don't. And suddenly you understand something you couldn't before. She's on her own journey. She has her own animus to face, her own illusions to break. And you can't do that work for her. You can't save her from herself. All you can do is walk your own path so fearlessly, so fully, that your life becomes a mirror for anyone brave enough to look. Most won't. Most will turn away. But a few, a rare few, will thank you for it. And that, my friend, is the difference between being loved for the role you play and being respected for the man you've become. And when that moment finally comes, when you realize you don't need to perform anymore, you'll notice something strange. People get uncomfortable around you. They can't explain it. They can't put it into words, but they feel it. Because you no longer fit into their expectations. You no longer play by the rules of social survival. You don't perform, you don't apologize for being whole, and that unsettles them. Dr. Elias Thorne said it plainly. The individuated man, the man who's become whole, is not welcomed by society. He's feared, misunderstood, labeled as distant, cold, arrogant. But that's not the truth. The truth is far more threatening. You've become untouchable, unbuyable, unmanipulable, because you've stopped playing the game. And here's where the irony turns sharp. The very people who once chased your attention, begged for your validation, waited on your approval, start to resent you for not needing theirs. Especially women who are still possessed by the fantasy. Really mean is this: I can't control you anymore. You've stepped off the stage. You're not reading from their script. You've stopped being a character and started being a man. Thorne once said, "The gods have become diseases." That what ancient cultures once called possession, we now call anxiety, neurosis, depression. And make no mistake, men chasing validation are the most spiritually sick of all. You think it's romantic when you say, "I'd do anything for her." You think it's love when you say, "She's my everything." But Dr. Thorne would shake his head and tell you, what you call love is your refusal to carry your own soul. You'd rather project it onto her. You'd rather make her the container of your meaning, your purpose, your identity. Because if she's carrying it, then you don't have to. But here's the brutal twist. At some point, she'll drop it. Not because she's cruel, not because she doesn't care, but because she has to. Because no woman, no matter how beautiful, how kind, how nurturing, can carry the weight of a man who refuses to carry himself. And when she drops it, you'll feel betrayed, but you shouldn't. You should thank her, because that's the moment, that precise painful moment, when the illusion finally collapses, when the mask falls, when the play ends, and you're left alone with the truth. And in that raw, gut-wrenching clarity, you face a choice. You can get bitter. You can blame her. You can point fingers. You can join the angry crowd of men who call women broken, manipulative, toxic. Or you can do what Dr. Thorne demanded of you. You can turn inward. You can start the lonely, terrifying, liberating work of individuation, of becoming whole without needing someone else to complete you. Because the woman you keep chasing out there, she's just a mirror, a reflection of the part of you that you've abandoned. Until you face that part, until you integrate your own inner feminine, every relationship will feel fake. Every connection will be a performance. Every love will be a lie wrapped in dopamine. But when you do face it, everything changes. You no longer chase women. You don't perform for them. You don't manipulate them. You don't seduce them. You stand still, rooted, clear, fully present. And from that stillness, something strange and beautiful begins to happen. You stop attracting women who want a character. You start attracting women who want the truth. And when she shows up, the real her, not the fantasy, you'll feel it instantly. She won't flood you with romance. She won't look at you like you're her missing puzzle piece. She won't seduce you with the language of completion, because she's not looking to be completed. She's done the work. She's faced her shadow. She's met her animus. She's burned through the illusions. And that's why she won't need you to perform. She won't try to rewrite your script. She won't eyes. Not as a goddess waiting to be worshipped, but as a woman ready to walk beside you. No masks, no projection, no games. And in that space, there is no desperation, there's no clinging, there's no transaction, there's only truth. And that truth? It's the rarest and most dangerous kind of love, the kind that asks for nothing, but offers everything. Because it's not born from need, it's born from freedom. Freedom to choose, freedom to leave, freedom to stay, without illusion, without fear, without manipulation. But let me warn you, most men will never experience this, because most will quit before they get there. They'll settle for the performance. They'll settle for being liked. They'll settle for the temporary comfort of pretending, because being seen for who they really are still feels unbearable. But if you have the courage, the brutal, soul-ripping courage, to keep walking, to keep stripping away every layer that isn't truly you, you'll reach something terrifyingly beautiful. You'll find yourself, and when you do, women will no longer be your mirror. They'll no longer be the source of your identity. They'll become something far better. Partners, not prizes. Mirrors, not mothers. Allies, not saviors. And you will love them, not because you need them, but because you choose to. From a place of strength, from a place of peace, from a place that finally, unapologetically, knows who you are. Dr. Thorne didn't leave us a shortcut. He left us a challenge. A challenge to wake up, to stop blaming women for the roles we willingly auditioned for, to stop chasing wholeness in someone else's eyes, to stop waiting to be chosen. Because the man who chooses himself, fully, relentlessly, unapologetically, is the man who becomes untouchable. Not arrogant, not cold, not superior, just free. Free from projection, free from fantasy, free to live as the author of his own life. And if this message reached you, if something in your chest stirred while listening, don't just scroll away. Don't let this be another insight you consume and forget. Like the video, share it with another man who needs to hear this, and subscribe for more, not just for us, but for the next man, the one still lost in the illusion. Let's wake him up. It always starts the same way. She doesn't see you for who you are. She sees who you could be, who she imagines you might become. You feel it in her eyes, don't you? That flicker of hope. Or maybe hunger. You think you're being seen, but you're not. You're being evaluated, measured, scanned like a blank canvas, waiting for her to paint her masterpiece. Even Gudis Hanno, she could stand, works round, the starter of these input-see. But here's the truth. The masterpiece isn't you, it never was, and Dr. Elias Thorne warned us. Not with soft, motivational fluff, but with the sharp clarity of a man who spent his life staring into the depths of the human mind. Thorne dedicated his career to mapping the unconscious, that silent world beneath your awareness. And what he uncovered about women? It was terrifying. He found that women don't just fall in love with men, they fall in love with the idea of men, the image, the projection, the fantasy. And the scariest part, most of them don't even realize they're doing it. You might think she's choosing you, but really, she's choosing the version of you that lives in her mind, a psychological puppet cast to play a role in her private movie. And when you no longer fit the script, she doesn't rewrite the story, she just replaces the actor. Thorne called this phenomenon projection, specifically the animus, the internal masculine image that exists inside every woman. And when that animus is immature, undeveloped, or unchecked, it becomes dangerous. It turns into a tyrant, an invisible force that drives women to chase the bad boys, reject the good ones, argue without reason, dominate without wisdom, moralize without accountability. He didn't sugarcoat it, he called it a form of spiritual possession, a state where the woman is no longer acting from her own consciousness, but from the shadowy grip of this internal masculine fantasy, and men, we fall for it. Because no one ever taught us to see it. You confuse being desired with being known. You mistake being chosen for being understood. You believe her when she says you're different, but you're not different. You're just the latest face she's cast to fulfill a story she's been rehearsing since childhood. And when the illusion breaks, when the mask slips, you're left wondering what you did wrong. But here's the thing, you didn't do anything wrong. You just stopped being convincing in a role you never agreed to play. Thorne warned that the only way out of this psychological theatre is through something he called individuation, the lifelong process of becoming whole on your own, of learning to see yourself, define yourself, and stand on your own 2 feet, not for anyone else, but for you. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Most men never begin that journey. You've been trained to chase approval, to seek validation, to let women define your worth. And as long as you do that, you'll keep playing the same part over and over again, getting replaced every time the audience loses interest.